We want to work with you to really recognize the changing climate and what it means to our forests, and actually work together with that science. That science is going to be key, because if we ignore that science and sort of put our head in the sand and think it's all about vegetation management, we're not going to succeed together protecting Californians.
Okay, it'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Hey, well, I don't think science knows, actually.
Painful.
The stupidity. It really, I think it's safe to say that you can just actually say without without being concerned that it's opinion. It's an objective fact that was a remarkably stupid thing to say that shows continued contempt for science, for education, for learning,
our country, our world,
for the Enlightenment. You just name it. That's what the president showed contempt for. Science doesn't know. It will start getting cooler. That sounds like it'll go away. Trust me, it'll go away when it gets warmer. Didn't go away, actually. The coronavirus accelerated.
So here's something that science does know. New satellite images show 2 Antarctic glaciers appear to be rapidly deteriorating, which could indicate rising sea levels globally. According to the Washington Post, glaciers located in West Antarctica, which have been most watched by scientists over recent decades, are among the fastest changing glaciers in the region. The new images show that a naturally occurring buffer system that prevents the glaciers from flowing outward is rapidly breaking down and could potentially unleash far more ice into the sea in coming years. The survival of one of those glaciers is about the size of Florida, has been deemed so critical that the U.S. and Britain have launched a targeted multi-million-dollar research mission. Its loss could trigger the broader collapse of the West Antarctic ice sheet, which contains enough ice to eventually raise seas by about 10 feet. For the president, that's bad. Joining us now, senior national affairs correspondent at the Washington Post, Juliet Eilperin. Also with us, Mark Brzezinski, Ambassador Mark Brzezinski, after serving 4 years ambassador to Sweden. Mark was brought to the White House by President Obama to stand up a new office called the Arctic Executive Steering Committee. The goal of the office was to closely coordinate from the White House a unified U.S. government approach to the future of the Arctic, which is at stake right now.
Well, so this segment is sort of old home week because I knew Juliet. She covered Congress when I was there, which is actually was as much of a disaster as climate change. And of course, Mika knows Mark Brzezinski somehow. Juliet, let's start with you, though. It's really good to see you again. You, of course, are having to follow right now 2 extraordinarily disturbing climate-related stories, one on the West Coast and, of course, the other involving climate change and the possibility of a set of dominoes beginning to fall that could raise sea levels 10 feet. Try to put this in perspective for us who don't do this every day.
Well, certainly we're seeing these visible impacts of climate change across the globe. And so that's what we're seeing. I mean, when you look at what's happening, for example, in California and across the West, you have these huge fires, which are clearly linked to climate change. Scientists have found that fires out west are 50% more intense, and the season has been extended by weeks as a result of human contributions to climate change. And then what we're seeing in the West Antarctic, and not only there, but elsewhere in terms of Greenland and places in the Arctic, is the melting of sea ice that is accelerating as a result of rising temperatures. We've seen unusual temperatures, unusually warm temperatures in the Arctic as well as elsewhere, fires in Siberia this summer. You know, there's just been huge indicators across the globe of what kind of impacts we're seeing.
You know, Mark Brzezinski, this is something obviously that President Obama brought you in to focus on. Yesterday's developments were obviously dire, and while Donald Trump says that it's going to get cooler, obviously the United States government and the British government don't agree with that because they've been very troubled and in fact are doing as much research as they can right now on trying to figure out the long-term impacts, the economic devastation, the environmental devastation that could come if these trends that we saw yesterday continue.
Joe, President Trump's statement yesterday is one of the biggest misuses of the bully pulpit of the presidency that I've seen. The bully pulpit of the presidency is a great teaching tool. The fact is that the Arctic and the Antarctic are changing, and what happens there doesn't stay there. It impacts you in your own backyard. The essence of the challenge that we face is that our children and our children's children, because of the impacts of climate change in the Arctic, they're going to see the basic outlines of human society that they inherit from us contracting, creating haves and have-nots in terms of who lives well and who lives awfully. The fact is that as these ice sheets melt, sea level rises, and that water has to go somewhere. 6 feet sea level rise wipes out Miami Beach and Washington, D.C. Think of countries that are just now at sea level. Philippines, 100 million people. Bangladesh, 150 million people. Where will those people go as sea level rises? That's the essence of the challenge we face. And to dismiss science and just saying it's going to get cooler because fall's coming is disgraceful. Joe Biden put it well. This is an existential threat.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.